here in August.
Bro, I'm staying.
Don't blame them. There's still some opportunities though.
Oh yeah, I know. We'll get to it, and it's closer to the end. But NFTs quietly had a great week last week. Bunch of new mints.
Yeah, very true. All right, we can get started here as well. Maybe a shorter one. That's all right. Pull up this. All right. GM, y'all. Thanks for hopping in with us here. Another episode of Wake and Jake. Got Silva, the guest host, hopping in here while Jinzo's gallivanting around Greece. Sipping. I don't even know. I was trying to think of a Greek cocktail, but I don't know what the Greek cocktails are.
I think it's just olive juice.
Sipping olive juice and gin or something. But yeah, we can get into it. Thankfully, a little bit of green, at least on the daily, not as much on the weekly. But we can run through it here. Bitcoin down 3% on the week. ETH down 4%. Solana down 12%. Like as I mentioned before, getting a little bit of a bounce here this morning. Thankfully, yeah, kind of shit week. I mean, pretty much all alts are down even more than that. Than what the majors are here. Across the board, we talked about last week how it was more of a once we get to August here, it's more of a chill, not really sure what's going to happen range. I feel like we'll probably talk about this a bit more too. It feels like it's going to be quite a bit of chop in general, but we'll get more into it here in a second. We'll start with macro stuff. We had rate cuts last week, and we had the FOMC pretty much a no, pretty much like a nothing burger, I should say. In general, Powell is actually pretty hawkish in what he was saying, but the market, along with the jobs reports that came into, the market has been actually increased the likelihood of a Fed rate cut in September now, which is when the next Fed meeting is. There's one in September, one in October, and then one in December. So 3 more this year. And every single one of them, as far as what Polymarket is betting on, they all have more than a 50% chance. Actually, all more than a 60% chance now of a rate cut happening in each meeting. Especially in September, which is the next one. There's an 80% chance is what the market has right now on Polymarket that we will get a rate cut in September. And it was about like 55 or so last week when we were talking during Wake and Jake on Monday. So pretty substantial increase since that previous meeting. So market certainly expecting right now the Fed will reduce rates. Hopefully gives a nice boost in confidence to the market and gives us a nice little liquidity injection as well. But I think until then, largely what we're seeing is again, like I mentioned, like probably a bit of chop. Right now, Web3 Quant has been talking about kind of like range lows to range highs. I'm posting this the wrong one. Let's hang out, chat. Here we go. Range lows, range highs. Which for Bitcoin is, I'm pretty sure he's talking like, the highs, which is like 122 or so, the range, then the lows around like 113, 114 area on a higher time frame. Obviously can dip under that, but bounce off it a decent amount like it has. So we're currently kind of at the range lows. So we might get some nice upside relief here over the next several days. D Farmer thinks so. He calls for higher just this morning, like a couple hours ago, calling for a bounce. Says "fuck you" higher, which he tweets a lot when he thinks there's a bounce. And I'm pretty sure he's referring to Bitcoin and ETH here on the majors. And excuse me. So yeah, so I think we might get some nice relief here in the short term, which would be nice. But in general, I wouldn't be overly confident that we'll continue to rip. August is notoriously, quite a slow month. People going on vacation, touching grass. Getting in a lot of vacations before the kids go back to school, that kind of thing. So I wouldn't anticipate anything crazy happening after we already had that nice run up in July. It might be more of a chop season, which again can present its own opportunities. Here's another thing from Web3 Quant talking about how he thinks the bigger drop in price is likely to come later in the month. And he also says likely last, like as in, it's going to drop, but then that's the last one until we rip even higher. He's high time frame, pretty much just getting through this period, the Q4, so to October. Also aligns with what Ping, who's been really really on lately in terms of what he's been in terms of his like higher time frame calls. Here is he's been saying Jetavana August, which is like which means like rest and relaxation. He said, and he also called it like, or in other terms, like a meditation. He basically said like meditation March. I couldn't find the reply. I saw it before. He said meditation March is like August right now, and then allocate April is going to be allocate September. So buying at the lows in September, kind of chilling this month, buying the lows in September, and then we rip again. Thinking in Q4 and in October is kind of what it's kind of what Web3 Quant thinks, kind of what DGenP thinks. So largely, it's kind of what we're seeing on a macro time frame. I'll stop there for a second. But I still think there's going to be quite a lot of opportunities on chain. Is going to be where the plays are, which we can get to here soon. But that's largely what I'm seeing from a bigger macro perspective on Bitcoin and ETH. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think that's a great rundown. I, I follow most, if not all, of the same kind of accounts right there. Web3 Quant, D Farmer, a few other ones, but it seems like they're all saying pretty much the same thing. And I guess, and this is just kind of more of a general strategy thing, if you feel comfortable, talking about it, Jake. But when you see a drawdown happening in real time, like kind of whatever it was, like Thursday, Friday, where everything came crashing down like 10, 15%, even for some coins. Do you actively try and like stable up at that point if you think you see it happening, or if you kind of get that tingle in your gut, or because we are pretty much in a bull market, do you just kind of hold at least your majors while you have them, or just curious kind of for strategy here for everyone how you play that sort of thing?
Yeah, I don't usually try to like micromanage the positions like that. If it's a long-term bag, I would just hold it. Especially because I don't really play like the majors too much, and I mean there can be a period of chop and drawdown for majors, and we can have some high performing alts despite that too, right? So I don't, if I like believe in a bag, I don't really want to, and it's like a lower cap thing especially, then I don't really want to miss a move and try to like time the bottom and try time to like sell the top and then try to rebuy the bottom a little bit lower. I don't try to do that too much unless there's like some super obvious spots. Just in general, I think you can get burned doing that, and you'll miss your window, or you just like won't want to rebuy lower because that's when sentiment is the worst usually, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to rebuy at all, and then it could bounce, and you buy higher, and I don't know. It's hard to manage emotions doing something like that, and really get the entries and exits that you want. So I'm more of a believer of if you like really like project, if you're really big into a bag, just to hold it. If you think in general the market's going to continue to do well, which I still think, we have more we have more bull period in us later in the year, then I'm not going to try and like micromanage.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate that shout out, man. For what it's worth, I'm similar. I like the positions that I have. Most of my Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, at least for like a lot of the majors, I've been holding them for years at this point. So whether we drop 2%, 10%, I'm still happy with my entries from whatever 2020, 2021, 2022. That it tips similarly. It doesn't make sense for me to try and micromanage everything right there. And I do think there are definitely some alts that I'll play a little bit more on the volatility on. But yeah, love to hear that we kind of have at least a similar mindset there about how not to just micromanaging every little move is not always the good part, or not always a good strategy, because you can get yourself chopped up way too easily doing that. At least from my earlier days, that told me.
Um, you cut off for me, but your thing was still going. I don't know if I'm having issues or it was you. You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It might have been me and my headphones.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah,
I saw your
I
thing
was
still
just
lighting up, but I couldn't hear you anymore. I was confused.
it was that secret alpha, bro. I can't let everyone have it. No, I was just saying I feel similarly. Like I'm happy with my positions and my entries that I've been holding for basically years at this point. And from my earlier days trading, I definitely feel like I chopped myself up a lot trying to time a lot of those 2% moves, 5% moves even. And then once I buy back in, it's at a higher price than I sold. And so I do generally think, unless we see a black swan kind of event, whether that's an FTX or war being declared, some of the really real bad things that can truly nuke a market. I think it's okay to try and just hold through some of these smaller drawdowns, because as we've seen today, we've, at least with like ETH, we've already made back a lot of that room that we had lost from last week. So I definitely think there's not micromanaging every little move is definitely a strategy that a lot of people should probably look into.
Yep, I'm glad you mentioned ETH too. Wanted to touch on real quick a couple things around it. I gave the range for Bitcoin, but Web3 also has the range for ETH, like around like 3,500 to 4K. It's kind of where he thinks it's going to bounce around at. So, yeah, some of these key levels, might look for. I'm probably not looking to like get into, in general, probably not looking for many perps plays, but maybe around like 4K area for like a short of ETH if we think it's going to go down, might be at the top of that range there. If he does get back there within the next couple weeks or so. But just in general, not really looking to play perp stuff. When it's super choppy, I think, especially I saw at least a lot of people getting into perps that aren't usually into perps, and that's usually a top indicator for me. And I saw that quite a bit here at HQ too, and I think it's not a good time to really be playing around with that right now. Usually it's never a good time, but I think especially for next month when it's super choppy, I think you can kind of start winning with perps. Like we were going up only for a while, and people were winning big, kind of no matter what they were betting on. Then you think you're just going to keep doing that, and it just doesn't happen. I think the risk return is going to be far greater playing on chain stuff. Like you mentioned earlier, NFTs. I think coins as well. But I think there's going to be some good opportunities. We've seen in the past. August is actually can be a nice month, despite there not being like great price action on majors. It can be a really nice month on chain. I think if you remember back in 2021, August was like the huge month for NFTs when they really broke out and there wasn't much going on. From a macro standpoint, but NFTs went crazy. A bit in August, that was like their first coming out party. And then I think in 2022 or three, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think when I think Pepe came out in August as well. There's actually here's a really good tweet from Web3 Quant. Someone specifically asked him about August and playing it, and he says, they asked if it was a ghost month, which I'm assuming I don't really know exactly what they mean by ghost month. I think it just means like nothing's gonna happen, kind of thing. I thought it's not showing the full one. 1 second. He's basically just saying it's majority. It was kind of pretty similar to what you just asked me actually. So, saying majority would do well to just ride without rotating their bags. Trying to time it, because not all bags will move in the same time. And if you're in the right bags, it's better RR, better risk return to not get cute with it, because it could still run despite other coins not being as great. Then there's a follow up about on chain stuff, degen stuff, and he says this is usually a great period for on chain runners, kind of like what Pepe did. I think Pepe ran actually. I think I want to say 2023.
Yeah, I think it was 23, Jake.
Yeah. So like 2021, we had a nice August for on chain stuff. 2023, we might have had some stuff 2024 too. I can't really remember. Hard to piece everything together. It's like decades. It's like decades in degen time. Yeah, that's all I was saying. I think there's like kind of a story you can tell yourself a bit in why that is too. I think people are less, if there's less volatility happening on majors, then people look to kind of move their liquidity to where there can be more volatility, which certainly happens on lower cap stuff, on chain stuff. So if they're kind of getting bored with perps, or they're not really doing well, or it's pretty stagnant, then they look for other things to basically degen on and to trade. And that can happen on chain when there's a stagnant period for majors. So I think there could be some nice areas, pockets here. We certainly have seen NFTs continue to go. It seems like it's heating up a bit. We actually had a really nice. We can kind of transition here too. And I'm skipping on chain stuff a bit, but we had a really nice. We had a really nice runner in Lil Chillers. We shout out Mr. Bull, who called up. He posted about it a couple times. Posted about like a couple days before, and then he posted out the day of. We pinged it out on time sensitive. I think we had quite a few people who cooked on it, so that was really cool to see. I faded it for some reason. I don't know why. I think I was just like busy with other stuff. But that was insane cook. I think it minted for 0.22 Sol, and it got up to like a 7 or 8 Sol floor. So like a 30x. And that's from the Chill House devs. And I'm not sure what it's at right now. I've seen a lot of people talking about it. A lot of sharp traders who like really like the collection. So I could see that actually continuing to do pretty well from the type of people who I've seen that have been promoting it. It's at 3.7 floor. 3.84 now, so still doing really well.
Yeah, I was just gonna call out. It looks like it's just under 4 SOL, which still, I mean, if you got in, at mint or anywhere even close to that, even right after mint, it took an hour or two before it broke even 1 SOL, and from there it kind of rocketed. So honestly, tons of opportunity to get in at a good price and make quite a few multiples on whatever your entry was.
Yeah, so that was really cool, especially because like there hasn't really been like any Soul stuff. I feel like that's done well. Can you think of any other collections that on Soul that have done well recently?
No, honestly, no. I mean, you have like the legacy collections that have still have a decently high floor, but they minted years ago at this point, like Super Monkey Ball, Mad Lads, that sort of thing. But honestly, this is the first NFT collection that minted that I can think that's done anything like this in quite a long time. So great to see, even after I don't know if you saw Jake Tolley was on his AI slot kind of calling out that, and then everyone used that to band against him on Twitter. D Farmer was mocking him, and a bunch of other big KOLs and personalities. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I saw that too, and he called it NFTs, which I thought was pretty dumb. I get like
Yeah,
the meme coin call out, but calling out NFTs too, I feel like there's like could actually be some pretty legitimate use cases for NFTs. I don't know why you would not want them on Solana.
right.
Um, yeah, so that was really cool to see. There's been just in general, like we're seeing like every week, the punks have been inching up as well, up another 5% this week, um, up to a 55 ETH floor. I think it was I want to say like every week they've been up like 5 to 10%, maybe 15%, like in the past like 4 weeks that we've been covering uh the NFT start, and I think those are still like the blue chip of blue chips collection that's once when they reprice higher, then everything else can reprice higher too. Um, so I think that's a super important one to track in terms of the entire NFT market. As they inch up, we're seeing a lot of others climb up as well. Yeah, some notable ones. I don't know what's going on, but Clonex. I've seen people like speculate. They're about to have some kind of like it's insider trading. They're about to like announce something big or something. Because they're up. They've been continuing to grow, up another like 20% this week. From their bottom.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen I've seen speculation that it might be related to a CTO, but I mean that rumor's been around for honestly months at this point, since Artifact basically like shut down a couple months ago. Um, so whether that's just a rumor or people trying to pump their bags or there is legitimacy to it, I don't know. But I'm definitely happy for any holders, who got shafted holding, those Clonex PFPs for, years now, that they're getting hopefully some kind of little exit pump here.
yeah. I'm seeing a lot of Gen Art stuff get a bid too. Fidenzas, where were they? Yeah, up like 14%. Meridians up like 50%, 55%. Um, the memes are the 6529 collection. Been getting a lot of love recently too. That's up quite a bit. I see D Farmer like bull posting them all the time.
Same. He
Um,
was on a tear this weekend, just post after post after post.
yeah, autoglyphs. Yeah, just in general, it's been good to see. I feel like everyone's kind of waiting for NFTs to for this pump to like kind of go away and then just die back down like they have over the past like 3 years. Every time they get any type of pump, but it's been decently sustained so far. I should mention there's like a little bit of a pullback on like Pudges around 13, Apes down like 5. Uh, yeah, but in general, it's still pretty strong, I would say, especially considering the macro environment, bigger coins all saw quite a dip over this past week too.
Yeah, man. And I think, there's a lot of reasons that we can either speculate about or that have also been confirmed. Going back to punks, those specifically have, I mean, like you said, they've been doing great for weeks, like week over week. They're up like 5-10% every single week without a doubt. And definitely being literally the probably biggest blue chip collection in all of NFTs on any chain is certainly going to help. But we've seen, I know T-Pan posted about it. Let me see if I can find it here. He posted, there was basically like a firm that came in and was buying up punks, as part of their treasury, right? Similar to how, we have all the Bitcoin treasury, ETH treasury, like all these, classic Web2 companies allocating funds just for tokens. There was one that was specifically just using it to buy crypto punks, which, we've speculated on it and we've heard people talk about it and consider it. And, there's the Pengu, the Pudgy Penguin ETF that has both the coin and would allow for Pudgy Penguin, NFT buying. So I think that definitely is giving it a little kick upwards here, helping it get lift off the ground. Similarly to NFT art, you shouted out Meridians and Fidenzas. I don't think it was an all-time high sale for Meridian, but I think it was a 60 ETH sale last week that 6529 himself bought personally. He said he'd been watching it and looking for it for mint day, and he was finally able to cut a deal with the guy who minted it, who'd held it for years now. So like you were saying, I think a lot of people are probably thinking this might just be a flash in the pan and waiting for it to vanish, but that there's definitely reasons to see why it's not right. It's not just weekend volume coming in that's going to leave again. This is some of the biggest NFT traders in the space, D Farmer, 6529, some of these funds, they're coming in, and I mean, if you know those guys, they don't sell, right? Like it can go to 100 ETH, it can go down to zero. They hold pretty much forever. So I think a lot of bullishness around some of the bigger art collections, bigger blue chips. And I think if we've seen anything, eventually that will trickle down into some of these smaller collections, which we've also kind of seen, speaking to the little chillers.
Yeah, you mentioned do you want to talk about the couple other ones that you mentioned to me in the show notes?
Yeah,
And heard
definitely,
about
man.
this.
Yeah, so honestly, we said obviously we just went through a bunch of huge collections, right? Those are, tens of to 50 ETH floors on some of those. But last week was also honestly fantastic for brand new mints, right? We said Lil Chillers, that was great. Um, you can put the memes by 6529 in there because they mint like every 3 days. Basically, there's a new one. So those are constantly kind of getting churned out. And depending on who the artist is, some of them do super well and they're an instant 10x, and some of them are just kind of slower cookers. But we had on-chain all-stars and on-chain minis both mint. I mean, they minted for maybe like $5 or $10 on ETH, and now they are $150 floor, which, sure, that's not crazy. It's not going to be, 0.5 or a 10 ETH floor, but that's still a 10x or 20x for, $5 or $10. That's nothing compared to the amount of money we're used to spending on mints back in the day. So those on-chain all-stars and on-chain minis did really well. Another one was No Bad Trippers, which was a collaboration done with Killer Acid. If you're familiar with him, Jake, he's like just
Yep.
not like a collection or like a PFP collection artist. He does more of like one of ones and stuff like that. But he's got a really trippy aesthetic for all of his stuff, and it was like a pixelated PFP. Like Mr. Bull called that one out as well, and I think it minted the same day as Lil Chillers, which I thought was super bullish that we had two collections, one on ETH, one on Sol, both mint, and they both did really, really well. The No Bad Trippers minted for like 0.03 ETH per, and they hit 0.2 over the weekend. They've retraced a little bit. I think they're around 0.15 now, but if you had minted, right, that's an easy 5 to 7x right there. Or you could have bought on secondary for like 0.05, 0.06 the entire day, like as they were minting. So just another, another just really great sign to see the volume coming in on different chains, supporting different collections on the same day. I think we've seen even with like meme coins, we might have one that does really well, and then that's all we can have in one day. So just seeing a bunch being able to be supported all together is super bullish in my mind.
Oh, hot mic there, Gladiator. Is that a cat?
That's my
Was that someone
MVP.
impersonating a cat? Yeah, no, who would have thought that we were gonna have to start paying attention to new NFT mints again, man? I think a lot of people would have said like, "Oh, that's never gonna happen again," but it certainly seems like we're in the season. I mean, you have to after that kind of evidence. We had multiple go like 8 to 10x to 30x like just in the past week. That's pretty wild, honestly, if you think about it. And I still think it's pretty under the radar too. Like people aren't really talking about it. If you go on like crypto Twitter, still like no one's talking about NFTs. So that makes me pretty interested in some new stuff and some quality new stuff. I'm not going to be minting everything, but if there continues to be quality collections that come out, like you said, by known artists, like obviously killer assets are been around a long time. Chill House, it has a cult following in itself. That one made a lot of sense too. So yeah, I'm certainly gonna be more on the lookout. I'm not gonna lie, like I feel like over the last couple of years, I've been pretty like dismissive of NFT stuff that I see, just because it's like I don't know, there has seemed like such low upside. But now that the market's heating up, and there seems like certainly there's an appetite for it again.
Yeah, man, and I forgot there was even another one that minted. I think 2 days ago, or 2 or 3 days ago, maybe it was on the OpenSea's launch pad. I don't even. I had like a little bit of an eye on those first collections, but this one never even heard of. It's a mysterious bag of glowing seeds. It's on Abstract. I'll link it in chat here. It minted for 0.01 ETH, and they're at 0.22 right now. And if you had whitelist, you could mint 3 per wallet. So I mean, you could have minted 3 at 0.03 and made out with over 0.6 ETH. Easy 20-25x. Like it. I mean, again, it doesn't look like what we might have seen in 2020, 2021, but NFTs are cooking across multiple chains pretty hard right now. So I would keep your eyes open there.
Yes, sir. Don't dismiss an NFT post right away. Do a little digging. That's mainly to myself. Anything else? Anything from the crowd around what we've been talking about, NFT stuff? Any collections upcoming that people are excited about? All right, all right.
Well, Jake, I will give one other
Yeah.
small piece of, I mean, kind of alpha related ish adjacent. Um, some of these collections have been minted, and they've been minted and like kind of shilled on Twitter by Xcopy, right? Probably the biggest Web3 like native artist we have in the history of the space. I know he minted and was a strong proponent of the on-chain minis and on-chain all-stars, which again still sitting at like a 10x, and he minted another one this morning called Static. It was 0.015 ETH per mint. And I think you could have, it was in public for most of it, and you could have minted, I think, 20 per wallet, and they were at 0.025 earlier before we started the show, down a little bit now to 0.022. But I mean, still, like that, again, not crazy insane gains, but that was free ETH if you wanted to max mint on your wallet. And if these follow like the other ones have, all those other collections we were talking about had a kind of slower first day, and then as the week went on, they ratcheted up to be a 2, 4, 8x from there. So these are still pretty decently close to mint price. Small supply of only 1,500. Again, there's one of ones in it. X like that. The one of ones were collabs with other known artists in the space. X copy got one, so he has multiple tweets out on it today. So I mean, if you believe following that playbook that he kind of set up himself last week, this might still be a decent buy for anyone here looking to kind of dip their toes back into NFTs. And I'll link it in voice hangout chat.
Oh, good shout.
I feel like I've heard that tone before, Jake. We might be hearing the broom come out. Sweep, sweep.
Maybe, maybe. Um, yeah, I mean, evidence of what we were talking about. On-chain stuff can do really well this time of year, despite majors chopping around a bit. As far as like coins go, there hasn't been anything crazy lately. I'd say. I mean, we had like the Elon companion stuff a couple weeks ago. We've had some intermittent stuff. We like Troll is another big one that's been around for quite a long time and kind of broke out of its range and started doing really well. In general, volume's like okay, nothing crazy, but okay still. Um, I think though, I still think this can be a good time of year for it. If there just hasn't really been, I would say like any great like narratives for people to catch on. Um, but I still think conditions are pretty decent after the run up. People still do have, I'd say, more funds than what they had in like May, April, May, due to a lot of alts ripping a decent amount. So there's still opportunities out there. I should shout out Believe, which I don't think is going away. I think people have a lot of. I think people have left them for dead for the large part, but I still think they have like a lot good amount of firepower as well as connections uh, in Web two, and if they just onboard some bigger names, like I feel like they have been a couple times in the past, then they can regain some ground from their launch pad uh, in a pretty quick fashion. I would think. I would say like the coin seems relatively bottom to me, sitting at like 86 million. Its high was what, like 400 million or so, close to that. Yeah, like 370 it looks like. Um, but just in general, Ben teased some type of flywheel thing this week. I don't know. A lot of people don't like him. I don't really know too much about him. I know he's promised big and hasn't delivered, so I certainly get that. Why people are upset about that. And then he's promising again something coming this week um, in terms of some type of. Let's see. Let me find the tweet exactly. Oh yeah, they're gonna implement something to make it easier to launch stuff, and then also implement something for some type of flywheel. But I still think like they really just need like one runner um, on their platform, and the bleed token itself can take off quite a bit, which I think they can get because of the connections that they have. Like so many people buy up these coins because of who is behind it, and if they are able to onboard someone with a decent following and with like a decent product behind them, and that person actually implements like the token into that product in some way, then I think the underlying ecosystem token itself will do really well too in launch coin. And who knows if he actually does a flywheel for launch coin itself? But I just want to shout that out. I feel like it feels pretty bottomy to me on the launch coin ecosystem stuff.
Yeah, can't say I know anything more about him that you don't know yourself, Jake. And I don't really get a bad vibe from him. Take that for what it's worth. But And he seemed like he's trying. He seems like he's at least going about it, the right way. So I'll always appreciate that from a founder versus the shady backroom stuff we've seen over the years. So yeah, I like the launch coin call out, and if anything, kind of like we talked about last week, I think Pump Fund has only seen decreasing volume and mind share. So, Bonk Fund has definitely benefited from that, and not going to be surprised if we see a second, launch pad like Believe kind of act as a beta, vamping a little bit more mind share from Pump. So, yeah, I don't think that's a bad shout at all.
Yeah, here's on that note, here's like a launchpad thing from Jupe. I don't know how accurate it is. Bonk guy was saying he doesn't think it's fully accurate, and that there's like a Dune dashboard that's better. I'm not sure where that Dune dashboard is, or exactly what his reasoning was, but at least gives like a decent outlook of where Launchpad market share is right now, and Bonk's at as Bonk at 65%. I think the other dashboard that Bonk guy is referencing it has at like over 80%, which probably makes sense. Maybe this is just incorporating like fart coin volume, and that's the only thing that's holding up Pump right now. Since fart coin is a pump coin, but in terms of like new launches and stuff, oh yeah, it's Bonk is certainly destroying them. Like here's the 1 day bonded. Uh, there's been 190 coins that bonded on Bonk and only 12 on Pump, so that's like over a 90% market share for that. And then there's been some other launch pads like Bags. It's gotten a little love recently. Jupe Studios gotten some too. Believe still in there. Moonshot. Nine Gag had their own. Oh yeah, I should mention that briefly. Nine Gag, the meme land people, they did their own launch pad, which is like great. Another token launch pad. Who really cares? But they did do it a little different, at least to where it launches a coin based on like their 9gag sites. Like when it gets a bunch of interactions, it like launches a coin, so it's not an individual person launching the coin, so it's not like a dev bundling and buying a bunch of supply. It just auto launches. They called it meme money markets, I think is what they termed it. So I thought that was at least like cool-ish tech, that it was just like auto launched and it wasn't a certain person and it was based on um memes on that site. I think their criteria was kind of shit. Like they had way too low of a bar for it, and they were like launching coins with stuff with like 20 likes on their site, which didn't make any sense to me. And they were also PvPing like other coins, like because they were like using memes that were like super popular, but the memes were used in different ways. But coins themselves would be called like the same thing over and over again. So like they were PvPing their own coins. Um, so there's definitely faults with it, and it looks like it's pretty much fallen off a cliff by now. I don't know if it's ever going to come back, but just want to at least mention it because it's like decently cool. I don't know, not really enough that I care too much about investing anymore with it. It was a fun little 1 day thing, but
Yeah,
yeah, that's
I'm with you there. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. I was wrapping it up basically.
Okay, yeah, I mean, like, I don't eventually, like, we can't keep just having more launch pads. Like eventually there's a breaking point, right? um but the one, and credit Swishy, just super super sharp guy. But I think one of the bigger benefit I see to it is if it does decently well at all, the mainland launchpad, or gets any kind of meaningful volume, even on just a couple coins, and they get a little bit of revenue from it, and they start buying back the meme token, or even if not buying back, I just think if it gets any sort of positive spin at all, or they have one big runner similar to like a fart coin or something like that, I do think meme coin is honestly probably a bit of a better buy. Just because that is their main ecosystem coin. That's the one that's been around for a while that people know. And I think we saw that play out even to a small effect on the day that the launch pad, went live, meme coin ripped like 20% upward. And it was a pretty bullish day. So we saw 5, 7, 10% jumps on other coins, but it outgained every other coin by a pretty wide margin. So I do think that if you don't want to necessarily have to bet on a new launchpad coin itself, I mean, because we've seen how quickly they come and go and rise and die back to zero. I think just looking, if you see it doing well or you see one particular runner and you don't feel super great about getting into that, meme coin could be a different kind of scalp play that might be a little bit safer. Uh, whether spot or perps or whatever, because it's offered in a lot of areas. So yeah, just kind of an alternative way to look at the success of Meme Land's Launchpad doing well and how you could make a play off that.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I think it's probably not going to do well, just because it's already
Yeah,
like falling off the cliff. And there's insane amount of competition there.
yeah.
But yeah,
I think the inflection point is when we see a launch pad that launches other launch pads for people.
that's what we really need. A
Steinfeld, I think you're
launchpad,
ready to
launchpad.
start the exhibit Launchpad.
Let's do it.
I heard you like launch pads in your launch pad, so we put a launch pad in your launch pad to launch pads.
Uh, um, yeah, that's I think that's about all I had on my list here for talking points for today. Covered a good amount of stuff, thankfully. Anything else you had, Silva, or anyone in the crowd? Wanted to bring up anything or wrap it up here?
Yeah. I'll turn it over to the crowd in just a second. I did want to shout this out because it's kind of time sensitive. The big dog himself, Waff Dog, posted in voice hangout chat, TCG chat, and in the time sensitive alpha. So Waff, you got my bless here as soon as we're done, brother. But there is a raffle for a tops, like a limited edition, like tops wrestling trading cards, like WrestleMania kind of wrestlers, right? It's like a special Cactus Jack collab, which I'm not going to try and tell you that I begin to understand it, but I do know that the boxes are going for like over 2x on secondary. So I mean, it's an easy flip of if you win the raffle, you can flip it on eBay for 2x immediately. And like I said, it's a raffle, and you have to sign up before the top of the hour. So you've got about 8 minutes, and it doesn't take long at all. It's just create an account, throw in your credit card. You don't get charged unless you win. But I did want to shout that out as kind of like a time sensitive opportunity for anyone that might not have seen that and joined us a little bit later.
Love it. Yeah, you guys are killing it over in the trading card stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, I'm a big shill for it. I've made more money there than I have in crypto probably the last year or two. And honest part of that is just not being as in tune to crypto stuff. Like I'm still farming and doing this or that, but it's like we are honestly the best way I could relate it to anyone is right now trading cards feel like they're in that 2020 2021 NFT period where literally every single trading card set goes up off release. um, there's brand new trading card games being launched. Like there was a Godzilla one that looked awful and is still doing 20 or 30% higher than what it debuted at. Nito Mosquito, longtime NVHQ member here, he bought a brand new release of some like new Japanese card game that came out. I mean, he pre-ordered it maybe 2-ish months ago, and it's at 2 to 3x already. Like he got a case of them for $1,000, and I want to say they're selling on secondary for 2,800 to $3,000. Like I mean, it is just such easy money that yeah, it's a little bit more difficult just having to sell things physically and put them in the mail, box them up or whatever. But if you're willing to deal with that slight inconvenience or hassle, it's about the closest thing to free money I've found since 2020, 2021. So yeah, I know I show it all the time, so I'll stop there. But if anyone has any questions, the TCG chat, is just full of chads who are so super helpful. I mean, like I said, Waff posted in 3 different areas this morning. He found that opportunity. Ezrin, Ross, Seinfeld, Jinzo, myself, always happy to DM anyone, or if anyone has any questions, trying to get their feet wet. We've got a couple new people joining every week, so come one, come all. I mean, there's enough profits for everyone.
Love it. Love the show. I know a lot of people in HQ are cooking on that, so that's awesome to see. I had to share this tweet that I just saw. Some dude's buying 5,000 other deeds, mega codas and weapon codas. It says from Yuga Labs directly.
Did, did, did they get dropped on their head as babies?
Adam Weitzman. Someone says he's a billionaire. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's the guy who bought like the one of one, the not mega mutant, but the from the Dookie Dash game, who like the golden key or whatever, he like owns a trash business in New Jersey or New York or something, if you remember that, Jake.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Estimated net worth of 1.5 billion.
Or he's in the mafia if he owns a New York or New Jersey trash business.
Yeah, right. Oh, New Jersey trash. Yeah, that's like the like spot on.
He's finding
You couldn't see it, but I was doing air quotes when I said that. Trash business.
He's finding a place to dump his digital bodies.
Bro. Oh my god.
So that's something. And I need to check other D's price real quick. Let's see. Or's up 1% today. Cool. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's something. Maybe it's not. I think it's less notable that he already was a huge investor in the ecosystem already.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't play it, so I can't speak to it too much, but I know they did launch. The other side did launch like their first, I think, like always on game in other side that you can go and play whenever. I saw Max not talking about it, and he said it ran pretty smooth. Like it was better than he expected, honestly. Which coming from Web3 gaming doesn't exactly mean a ton. But still, maybe he knows something, right? Being a huge investor, and he might have ties to the team, might be in DMs or chats, and might just know that something's coming or whatever. And this is just a little bit of crime happening on chain. But yeah, I'm not going to just dismiss it outright. I might look into it a little bit today just to see.
Oh, there's only been 3 sales of other deeds since that news, which is surprising to me.
Oh God.
But I thought there'd been a lot more. Yeah, I think it's going to be a prove it thing for Yuga with other side to the market. I feel like before people really want to get involved. So
100%,
I hope they do well. I hope it's cool.
Yeah,
But
I mean, if that does well, I feel like it's good for all of our bags, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's all I had. Anything else?
All good on my end, bro. But would love to hear if anyone in the crowd thinks we missed anything or has any other bits and corners of the space that we're not keyed in on.
Cool. Well, if that's it, thank you all. Appreciate you guys coming out for the show. We'll keep cooking in the chats. Thank you, Silva.
Yeah, man. Of course, anytime. Happy to be up here with you. And yeah, I mean, I know we got a little downturn at the end of last week, but market is still pretty much on a ripper, like in other areas. So yeah, got to stay locked in. These are the times where you make the most money. So happy as always just to be in MVHQ and be with the big brains like you and everyone else in these chats and voice chat. So let's keep it cooking, baby.
Sir, right back at you. Thanks, y'all. See you later.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Peace.